Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our monthly Zoom webinar. I'm going to give people a minute or so to join before we officially kick things off. Thanks. All right, I think that's been a minute or so. Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Hillary Ross. I'm Zoom Security Product Marketing Manager, and I'll be moderating today's event. Before we get started, I have a few quick housekeeping notes. Please go ahead and add all your security and privacy questions to the Q&A panel, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. For questions on how to use certain features, we highly recommend you visit our knowledge base at support.zoom.us, watch our how-to videos on YouTube, read our blog posts, or attend a daily training. We'll add the links to these resources in the webinar chat. We are recording today's webinar and we'll send the link to all the registrants. We're excited to provide an update today on the progress we continue to make with respect to security and privacy, as well as the opportunity to ask Eric and a few of our top team members questions. For today's agenda, we're going to have Eric, our founder and CEO, kick off the webinar with some opening remarks. We'll then have Lynn Holland, our Chief Privacy Officer and Chief Compliance and Ethics Officer, talk about our new in-product privacy notifications, and she'll be followed by Tony Palmer, a guest speaker. Tony is a Senior IT Validation Analyst at Enterprise Strategy Group, ESG, and he'll share details about a technical review of Zoom security that they conducted. And lastly, we'll open it up for Q&A, and we'll have our Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, Jason Lee join, as well as our Chief Technology Officer, Brendan Idelson. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric. Thank you.
Hey. Thank you, Hillary. And also thank you all for joining me today. I really appreciate it. So once again, we are very excited to welcome all of you back to our webinar, which we are continuing to host as a part of our ongoing commitment to being transparent with our users about our privacy and security efforts, as well as share some product updates. So we had a couple of exciting announcements earlier this week. I'd like to summarize those for you. First, we announced our Zoom Apps Fund, a new 100 million venture fund created to stimulate growth of Zoom's ecosystem of Zoom apps, integrations, developer platform, and hardware. And the Zoom Apps Fund will invest in developer partners with viable products and early market traction that will provide valuable and engaging experiences for our customers and partners. We will provide a link in chat to the webpage where you can learn more about the Zoom Apps Fund. Second, we also announced in product privacy notifications. Lynn will be sharing more detail on that later in this conversation. But in short, we think this will continue to help advance transparency on our platform and enhance our user privacy. While we are incredibly honored and proud of the role we have been able to play in keeping the world connected with our frictionless, reliable, and secure technology over the past year, our work is far from over. So prior to the pandemic, there had already been a movement to begin allowing to remote work. The pandemic certainly made a sudden shift to remote work necessary to many, but we believe a hybrid work environment is going to be the new normal once a return to work is determined to be safe. So we recently teamed up with SurveyMonkey to conduct a poll of over 1,500 US-based individuals who have been working from home to better understand what people think, feel, need, and expect about the future of work and returning to the office. Of note, 65% of respondents said a hybrid work environment was their ideal work model. And another interesting finding from the survey was that employees have different views on which meetings they prefer to have in person and virtually. When it comes to large group meetings, 61% of respondents said they prefer to participate virtually. On the other hand, 69% of respondents said they prefer to meet new clients or customers face-to-face at the office. So this suggests that employees might prefer to come into the office or work from home based on their activities for the day. Ultimately, organizations will need to examine what it means to establish a successful and secure hybrid workforce. And Zoom will continue to play a role in redefining new approaches to working, learning, and connecting from anywhere. It is with this in mind that we continue to build and strengthen our platform with security and privacy remaining front and center in everything we do. And I will now hand it over to Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Zoom is always working to improve and evolve our platform to meet our users' diverse needs. If we turn to page 7, thank you. As Eric mentioned, we are really excited about the launch of new in-product privacy notifications. This update comes following a very busy 2020. I don't think I have to tell everyone here, during which Zoom experienced exponential growth, surpassing more than 300 million daily meeting participants in April 2020. Our user base has also expanded, as many of you know, from primarily enterprise customers to include millions of individual users. We are proud to provide a service that helps so many people stay connected, from business meetings to fitness classes to family reunions. Our new in-product notifications will make it easier for users to understand who can see, save, and share their content and information when they join meetings and experiences hosted on Zoom. These notices are designed to help users make informed decisions about how they use Zoom without disrupting the frictionless Zoom experience they count on. Zoom users have the ability to save and share content from Zoom meetings through the use of certain features, for example, chat or record, depending on the account owner's settings. We use the opportunity of our recent product update to help embed feature-specific privacy notifications into the Zoom experience. These will help people understand in context who may be able to see and share the content and information they share on Zoom. For example, if a meeting is recorded, the account owner, which is the organization or individual who signed up for the Zoom account hosting that meeting, would be able to see messages that are sent to everyone in that meeting. And the account owner and meeting participants also could share those messages with a third-party app, such as a service that provides translations. We think it's important for people who use Zoom to understand who might be able to see and share what they do on Zoom, especially for those parties not in the meeting. As you'll see in the slide, these notifications appear in context for a number of experiences within Zoom, including for live transcriptions, polls, Q&A, and more. Users on the latest version of the Zoom client will also soon see privacy notifications when a meeting host or other meeting participant uses an app during a meeting. These apps can range from scheduling tools to transcription services, as I mentioned, and more, and will enable collaboration on the platform. The last slide here on slide 9 is an example. In practice, the notifications will look like this one here, where you see when you hover over the gray box, that pop-up in black will appear. The information, as we say, is a notification, and this message will vary based upon the feature itself and the experience. I don't know if that's too hard to read. I could read it out if people want me to read it, but it says that the recording is on, so the account owner and everyone in the meeting can see and save messages sent to everyone and can share them with apps and others. And then the next line, only you and those you chat with can save your direct messages and share those with apps and others. These notifications that we're pleased to talk to you about today launched globally in the US in English as part of the April 19 product update, and they'll be rolled out in additional languages in the next few months. For more information on this change, I encourage you to visit the blog and support article we've published on the topic, and we will share links to both in the webinar chat. With that, I'd like to welcome, please, Tony Palmer of the Enterprise Strategy Group. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So I am Tony Palmer with Enterprise Strategy Group, and ESG basically is an integrated IT analyst research and strategy firm. Our goal really is to help our clients and their customers to achieve business results through research and advisory services, consulting, and custom content solutions. And we performed we're in the process of finalizing a technical review that we performed on the Zoom platform. We've been users for a long time, but we wanted to dig deeper into how Zoom is integrating security with the renowned ease of use and flexibility that the platform's always had. So we looked at our market-facing research, and what we're finding is that while there are challenges with work from home and remote work, there's also a lot of new opportunities there. So companies are embracing work from home. There's 72% of the respondents to our survey said that they supported work from home and would increase it even beyond the scope of the pandemic. So having said that, security really continues to be the most cited challenge for both online platforms and when it comes to supporting, that increased number of remote workers. And really, so it's not surprising that where companies are investing, right, include areas like cybersecurity, employee productivity, and also strengthening collaboration capabilities. Excuse me. So we looked at a number of Zoom's security capabilities, the ones that are used to satisfy security and privacy requirements like encryption and their optional end-to-end encryption, passcode protection, identity-based security. By identity-based security, that's an ESG term. What we mean is the ability of the meeting hosts to allow or restrict users based on whether they're logged in or by the domain they belong to. And also we looked at in-meeting controls. And while we focused on all these key areas, it's important to note that Zoom offers a wide variety of additional security capabilities that we just didn't have time to cover in our study. And our primary focus was on security, but we also, of course, looked at the ease of use and flexibility across all client platforms that Zoom is really so well known for. So as most of you on the call are already aware and what's already been discussed during the first few months of 2020, the Zoom team was working around the clock to support the tremendous influx of new and different types of users. So the sudden and increased demand was unlike anything most companies will ever experience. The Zoom team quickly realized that they needed to expand their work on security and privacy. So they began making a number of enhancements to really deepen that security and privacy in Zoom's DNA. So the response included a comprehensive plan, right? Not only to strengthen security controls and features in the platform, but more importantly, intensifying efforts to educate users, opening dialogues on security and privacy with CISOs, and making a number of key hires in the security and privacy space. So Zoom's security program, which is kind of summarized here, includes numerous third-party certifications and attestations. And it's really, in my mind, a testament to Zoom's deep and abiding commitment to security and privacy for all their users, including those with the most stringent security and privacy requirements, areas like government and healthcare and education. And the financial markets. So in evaluating the security of the platform, we covered a number of features and capabilities, right, that address various security and privacy needs and concerns, including their optional end-to-end encryption, the passcode controls that we talked about before, two-factor authentication, domain-based security, in-meeting controls. This drawing here is just sort of a representation of Zoom's encryption capabilities, right? It doesn't show all of them. But the one thing that's interesting on this particular image is that when you're in a meeting, you can very quickly and instantly see if anyone is connected unencrypted, right? If there's any exceptions to that rule, it's really easy to just click on that yellow shield up in the corner, see exactly who it is, and then remediate the problem before moving forward or deciding that that's okay, that one's not particularly a risk that we have to worry about. So, excuse me, sorry for that. So features like this, right, like the ability to confirm encryption is active, is really allows hosts to act on these potential security issues in real time, which is a real value. So having said that, with Zoom, administrators can make it really easy for meeting hosts and attendees, right, to start, join, and collaborate securely, right, across any device. Centralized IT management, remote assistance simplifies deployment and support, the ability to track utilization and usage trends, view version distribution, assign granular permission settings, including account group and user levels, all really, really important functionality that just helps you strengthen your security posture. Users can join Zoom meetings using desktop clients, mobile apps, web clients via the Zoom web portal. Connecting, sharing features, functionality are all similar across all clients, which really makes joining and participating from anywhere really easy. And that's our experience over the past several years. We've been using Zoom for quite a while. So our research tells us really that both users and the organizations they work for expect their collaboration technology to be secure, but without compromising flexibility to connect via a variety of platforms, right? Or ease of use. In other words, secure collaboration solutions that don't impede productivity continue to be a high IT priority. And we really validated in our own analysis that Zoom effectively addresses these demands. Collaboration is essential. Work from home mandates over the past year created new challenges for organizations, with security and ease of use at the top of that list. And what Zoom is doing is it's helping organizations to securely connect teams, people, and organizations with strong features and best practices to make it easy for administrators to manage and even easy for their participants to use. So in our view, Zoom is a secure collaboration platform that delivers on what organizations with the toughest security and privacy requirements, right? Those areas that I mentioned before: government, education, financial services, healthcare, what those organizations and their users need. And to be honest, ESG recommends serious consideration of Zoom for organizations that recognize the importance of secure remote collaboration to the success of their business. Zoom's strong security protections, combined with their ability to maintain high levels of meeting quality and usability, all while allowing hosts to act upon potentially disruptive issues quickly and decisively, really can help any company or any organization to confidently and securely maintain and enhance productivity and collaboration. And so the report is in the process of being finalized, and it will be published and up shortly. You'll receive notifications from Zoom, and it'll be tweeted out by ESG on our various social media platforms. But all that's left to say is thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I'll be on for the rest of the call. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, Tony. We'll now open the webinar up for Q&A. So let's jump to the questions. Several people have written in with questions about sort of the new norm. Jason, I think this would be a good question for you. Since remote work is going to be the new norm, what are your top tips for businesses to stay secure? Oh, and Jason, I think you're on mute.
My fault, of course. We had to have that happen once. A great question. I did write a blog on this one, and there was really kind of 4 points that I really wanted, CISOs and security folks to really think about. First one is really evolving the data protection process. In a distributed workforce, when everybody's working from home, you have to think about what are all these controls that you're putting on these machines. Like, think about mobile device management, MDM on your phone, thinking about making sure that you're running encryption, full disk encryption on your laptops, and really honing in on the controls that are on those laptops and at those endpoints. The other side of it is when you think about the personal devices, is one of the things that's very common is BYOD, so bring your own device. And one of the most critical controls that I love talking about is making sure that you're using multi-factor authentication. When you think about like many of the phishing incidents that you've seen out there, multi-factor authentication is a great security control around that. And I really advise people the security professionals to ensure that you're using that across all your endpoints. One of the other ones is training. When you're at home, it's a little bit of a different mental model when you're at home than when you're in the physical office. When you're in the office, you're working, your shields are up, you're kind of thinking with this security mindset. And when you're at home, it's kind of really easier to kind of drop the shields, leave your laptop unlocked, things of that nature. So, and then it's like, the mix of personal if you're looking at, personal websites or whatnot. And so really the one thing to really think about there is making sure that there's training, that you have a training regimen where you're continuously educating and making sure that there's tips and tricks and whatnot around security that's, front and center with your entire workforce. I think that's a great one. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you're leveraging technology that gives you both the flexibility and security. I'd be remiss to note that, using Zoom is very common. I highly recommend for everybody to leverage those sorts of communication technologies and to make sure you're leveraging every single one of the security features in that while you're at home, and working at the same time. So thanks for that, Hillary.
That's great, Jason. And our Deputy CIO, Gary Sorrentino, also wrote a blog post last week on security training to upskill the hybrid workforce. So that's another resource for those of you that are interested. Lynn, a question for you. What happens after someone removes a disruptive user and reports them to Zoom?
Thank you, Hillary. So this gets a report is actually sent automatically to our Zoom Trust and Safety team. And then that team will look at it and evaluate it to see whether whether there's misuse of the platform and whether we might need to block that particular user.
Great. Brendan, a question for you. Is there a way of knowing if someone is recording the Zoom call, and can you as a moderator stop it?
This is a great question. If someone is using the recording features within Zoom, in the corner of the meeting window, you'll actually see a red recording light indicating that it is recorded. And for meetings, by default, the host has the ability to enable recording. And if other participants would like to record, the host or co-host would need to grant that permission to other individuals in the meeting. So it's part of our security framework around recording of sessions.
Great. Jason, another question for you. Someone would like to know, do you have any updates on Pwn to Own? And for those of you that don't know, Pwn to Own is an annual hacking competition, for lack of a better description.
Yeah, so Pwn to Own Vancouver 2021 was an event that it was held April 6th through the 8th. So it just happened. And it highlighted a number of, highlighted a number of critical and issues and all kinds of products. I love the team. The security researchers there are awesome. It's, as Hillary was saying, it's an event where you're bringing in the top talent across the world. And then the biggest thing is I really want to thank the folks at 0 Day Initiative, the ones that actually hold this event, for allowing us to sponsor and participate in the event. So April 8th is when it ended. April 9th, so there was a finding for us. We released a server-side update that defends against the attack that was demonstrated at Pwn to Own on Zoom Chat, so our group messaging product. This update actually doesn't require any action to our users because it's on the server side. And we're continuing to work on additional mitigations to fully address the underlying issues. However, I definitely want to reiterate that the server-side update does mitigate the attack that was demonstrated. Appreciate it, and we're very excited to participate in that. It was our first time going in that, and we're very happy with being able to participate in that.
Hillary, I think it's a theme. You're on mute.
Sorry. Here's a question for anyone on the Zoom team. If I'm in an existing meeting that runs over time, how do I ensure participants in my next scheduled meeting do not come in unexpectedly?
I'm happy to jump in on this one. And there are a few options that we have within the platform to help when you have back-to-back meetings scheduled. The first one is when scheduling a meeting, you actually have the choice of using a unique meeting ID for each session. And we highly recommend this option because that will mean that the folks for your next meeting, if they join, they'll be going into a basically different meeting room than going into the same room that your previous session is in. I kind of think about it as, scheduling that conference room in the office. You might want to schedule different meetings in adjacent rooms as opposed to the same room. On top of that, we also have our waiting room feature that when turned on, folks will actually be put in a waiting room prior to being admitted into the meeting. And that way you can see who is there knocking on the door and at the appropriate time, allow them into the session.
Great, thanks, Brendan. Lynn, another question for you. Is Zoom HIPAA compliant?
Yes, we are. And if you have more detailed questions, of course, we would ask you to go and check out our Zoom healthcare webpage. And there's lots of Q&A there as well.
Great. And a quick follow-up question to that. Do security and privacy levels change depending on the type of license you have with Zoom? And how do HIPAA and FERPA fit in?
Thank you for that too. So most privacy and security features are available for free. For example, end-to-end encryption, passwords, and waiting rooms, some of those features that Brendan's just described. The ones that are where we do ask for a fee are typically ones that only enterprises or more likely enterprises would need, things such as single sign-on.
Great. And Brendan, someone just wrote in, what is multi-factor authentication? How is it used? I feel like you or Jason would be great at answering that.
Happy to kick it off, and I'm sure Jason has a few thoughts on this one as well. So we'll probably both dive into it. But multi-factor authentication is basically using two methods to authenticate to a session. Something you are, something you know, or something that you have. And so for the context of Zoom, we have a feature that you can turn on where you need to use two factors to be able to sign into the product. For example, knowing your password and having access to your phone to get an authentication code. Not sure if you have more to add on that one, Jason.
Yeah. I was going to say my favorite one is like you're saying, you see this with banks as well is you've got your password, but then you also have an authenticator application on your phone that you can verify that it's you that's logging into that computer. And so I'm a big fan of making sure that it's on a different device. And so that's one of my favorite multi-factors. Other things that people use are like YubiKeys or kind of physical tokens that you can plug into your laptop as well. That's also another good one that I like.
Super, that's a good tag team answer. Thanks, Jason and Brendan. Another question, how can I check to see if a meeting is encrypted?
A great question. And in terms of checking out how a meeting is encrypted, in any meeting in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the Zoom security shield. And by clicking on that, you can see the details of the encryption for the session.
Great. And we get this question all the time. I think I'm going to bring it up because it's so relevant for Zoom. What are the best ways to prevent meeting disruptions and help secure your meetings? Just general tips.
Willing to start that one off, and I'm sure the whole panel has input on this one.
Absolutely.
But I think the biggest item, is actually looking at how you're sending that invite to, who you're sending it to and how you're distributing it. It's important to, share it in a method that it's only going to the folks that you anticipate coming to the meeting. You wouldn't put your home phone number on a billboard, so why would you do that online for a private meeting that you'd want to hold? So encourage folks to, for meetings, distribute it, but also to use the, appropriate features for a session. If you're doing a large public event, we have great products like Webinar, which we're using today, where we have our panelists that are here, but we have folks that can view the session and participate in it. Jason, Lynn, other items to add?
I mean, there's the standard, making sure that there's a passcode, making sure that there's a waiting room. A waiting room is a great way to vet who's coming in. So I'm a big fan of that one. And in a lot of cases on free users, that's required to have one or the other. So that helps. And then making sure that, one of the common things is folks will share it on social media. And so when you share like a link without the waiting room on, you're not, and it's open to the public, people can find it. So I definitely want to make sure you're guarded with that invitation.
Yeah. So Hillary, just quickly, I think for our board meeting, we also enable a meeting registration as well. Each participant will receive a unique meeting URL to join. I think that's also another feature, we recommend.
That's a great tip, Eric. And I'll also add that we published a blog article on this on our top tips to secure meetings. So you can find that on the official Zoom blog as well. A question around, can a host and co-host simultaneously share screen and have the two visible audio simultaneously present to the participants?
Happy to take this one. So it sounds like the feature that's being discussed there is actually our multi-share option that's available in Zoom, where when enabled, multiple individuals can share their screen simultaneously. And folks that are on the desktop client can choose which view they're using. My favorite is actually using this feature in a Zoom room, in a multi-screen Zoom room, because in a team meeting, it's wonderful where everyone has their computer screen up on the wall at once and we can compare notes and look. We use it a lot for code review sessions amongst peers because everyone can see it simultaneously. I know our financial team loves it, so it's an amazing feature. And I think we can probably put a link to that in the chat here for those that are interested.
Thanks for clarifying on that, Brendan. A question for you, Jason. Are we still hiring for security roles at Zoom? And do you have any advice or certain things we're looking for when hiring for security here?
Sure. So we're actually hiring across the board. For one, on LinkedIn, if you follow me, I post all the time, all of our positions. Also, I would highly recommend looking at our career site. I mean, pretty much every single area is there's positions open that and we've been growing a ton. So please look those out. In terms of the things that I look for, just a quick philosophically how I align is one, like, is really your customer focus. How much are you we care for our customers, and I want somebody that really embodies that and really shows that persona. The other thing is always willing to learn. We're big at Zoom of like, when there's new books, new philosophies that come out, we're constantly learning. And I want to make sure that somebody is a constant learner. There's a saying of if you call yourself an expert, it means you feel like you don't have anything more to learn. I would say everybody here at Zoom is there is no experts. We're constantly learning. Every one of us are just in this learning path. And so I want somebody that has that as well. So those are two quick ones that are important to me.
Those are great attributes. Thanks, Jason. We also had several questions about the Zoom Apps Fund that we recently launched. Could someone on the panel maybe share some details around what type of companies Zoom is hoping to invest in as part of this fund?
So I'm happy to take that one. We're very excited about the Zoom Apps Fund, and with it, we're looking to invest in developer partners with viable products that have early market traction that will provide valuable and engaging experiences to our customers. I think this is a very exciting opportunity, and definitely encourage people to look at the fund. More information is available, at our website, the zoom.us/fund.
Just quickly to add to what Brandon said, actually, by the way, a dozen of the Zoom apps already in the pipeline, right? So I'm going to announce in the next several weeks. Also, it's not only for business apps. Any developers, it can build like all kinds of apps, like a lots of games, right? Also can be built upon that as well. Essentially, you and I will have a Zoom call. We also can play the games together, right? Anything you can think of can truly improve the meeting experience, improve the social interactions. I think feel free to reach out to us.
Great, thanks, Eric. And I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. As a host, can I unmute and mute attendees?
So for muting and unmuting, as a host, there are meeting settings, and on the participant panel, you can actually click on there to request to unmute another individual within the session.
Great, thanks, Brendan. And I think this might be our final question. I am the Zoom admin for older military vets. How can I help teach these folks how to use Zoom? And if we feel up to maybe a couple people on the panel could share maybe a top tip or suggestion.
I could jump in on that one. I mean, if you're helping someone who hasn't used Zoom before, I would recommend maybe going to some of our website, right, and looking up some of our support pages and some of our support articles. I personally think, again, just my view, right, that most people find it pretty intuitive. It's certainly a goal of ours to make Zoom frictionless, very, very easy to use. And we hear anecdotally that people, even first-time users do find it pretty easy to use. But any kind of training or practice session that you might set up with them, set up a call, invite them and walk them through things. That's how I found it's a nice way to learn kind of live with other people in a chat, have a coffee session, something like that might work. But again, we do have those assets there, and maybe I would recommend starting with a little bit of reading and then setting up a live meeting for them to try it out.
Yeah, I was gonna add on to that is I know we posted it to all attendees, but the zoom.us/live training is great. There's a lot of video tutorials, YouTube videos that are super helpful. They're really simple. Highly recommend the looking at through videos, because being able to visually see how to interact and everything is super helpful. So that's a great resource to use.
Great. Anything else? Great. I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank Tony Palmer from Enterprise Strategy Group for joining and presenting today. Thanks so much. Much appreciated. And thanks to our panelists. And Eric, do you have any final parting words to share?
Yeah, thank you all. And looking forward to meeting you next month. Again, we have so many security privacy features and enhancement, feel free to reach out to us if you have any advice, if you have any comments, and thank you so much for your trust and help. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone.